Hey everyone, Mrs. Gray Math here. Just wanted to give a quick review over the notes that we have done in class. So the other day I had introduced a new format of linear equations, and that is standard form. Okay. In standard form is where we have that ax plus by equals c. So you notice our x and our y are on the same side of the equation, and our c is on the other side of the equal sign or inequality. Now, the two things I told you that you needed to remember was first that our a value is a positive number, okay? A always has to be positive, and b and c are going to be integers. Now, integers, remember, they're whole numbers, so no fractions or no decimals. So when you write an equation in standard form, a, b, and c must be whole numbers, no fractions and no decimals, and a must be positive. The other reminder is we can never have an a value and a b value that they cannot be negative. They cannot be zero, okay? I like the standard form because it is easy to find our x and our y intercepts. So let's quickly review our x and our y intercepts. So you remember the x-intercept, we also call this our zero, okay? That is another term for x-intercept, zero. You may see a question phrased of what is the zero of this linear function. All they're asking for is the x-intercept. When we're looking at a graph, this is where the function crosses the x-axis. When we write an ordered pair, okay, our y value is always equal to 0 at the x-intercept, okay? That is always. So if we have a linear function that has a 0 at 4, we would write this as 4, 0 as the ordered pair, where this is our x, of course, this is our y. On the flip side, our y-intercept is where the function crosses the y-axis. This will always be where x equals 0. X always equals 0 at the y-intercept, okay? There is no other name for y-intercept. It's just y-intercept, but when we look at it in slope-intercept form, you'll see this referred to as your little b value. So this was our warm-up that day, and let's just remember, hey, why do we use standard form? Well, as I said, standard form is a great form to find our x and our y intercepts. Here we have standard form, okay? A value is a whole number, b value is a whole number, c value is a whole number. A is positive, okay? It does not matter that our b value and our c value are both negative numbers. That's perfectly fine. So the one thing that we know about x-intercept is that our x-intercept, our y value, is 0. So plug in 0 wherever y is and solve for x. So we have 5x minus 4, and instead of that y, plug in that 0, okay? And then we have equals negative 12. Okay? This, we can find the x-intercept. So when I do this, I have 5x equals negative 12. And then I divide both sides by 5. I have x negative 12 over 5. Okay? On the other side for y-intercept, well, we know at y-intercept our x value is 0. So to find the y-intercept, we just plug in a 0 where x is and solve for y. Okay. So I'm left with negative 4y equals negative 12, and my y-intercept equals 3. Okay. Those are my two intercepts. Very easy to do in standard form. The other form that I had mentioned to do is that cover-up method. Since we already know that for our x-intercept that our y equals 0, do you agree when I plug in 0 that this, our negative 4y, is going to go away? It is going to disappear. So what I'm telling you, what you can simply do is to cover it up, okay? Just cover it up. Okay? Use piece of paper, hand, scratch it out with your pencil. So now I'm left with 5x equals negative 12. Okay? Now you can solve for your x-intercept. Okay, same thing, divided by 5. I have x equals negative 12 over 5. And just like I did with the x-intercept, I can do the same to find the y-intercept. Because if x equals 0, well, 5 times 0, so we can just cover this up. We're left with the negative 4y equals negative 12. So now I'm dividing by the negative 4, and I have my y-intercept is 3. So let's talk about how to convert to standard form. So here I have my equation, y equals negative 2x plus 2, and it's currently in slope-intercept form. We know that my slope is negative 2, and my y-intercept is 2. So let's convert this to standard form, because maybe I want to know what is my x and y intercept. So up here, this is our equation for standard form. I need to get it into this format. So remember, my x and my y first need to be together. The first thing I'm going to do in my solving the equation is I'm going to add my 2x, and I'm going to do this to both sides of the equation. And if you need, draw that wall so you know that you have those two sides of the equation, okay? On the left side, 2x and y, they are not like terms, so I cannot combine those. Do not combine those. It would just be my 2x plus y. Okay. On my left side, well, negative 2x plus 2x, they cancel out, and I'm left with positive 2. Now, look at your equation. Is this in standard form? Well, I have my a, x, my b, y, and my c. All of them are integers, and my a value is a positive number. So this you have now converted to standard form. Before we continue, just a couple of reminders about the rules of standard form. Remember that the coefficient of x, meaning your a value, okay, it must be a positive integer. Integer, whole number, so no fraction, no decimal, must be positive, okay? All the other numbers are b and are c, they must be integers. Now let's do the same. Let's rewrite this equation in standard form. The first thing I'm going to do is when I look at my star chart, I'm just going to remind myself, what does standard form look like? Remember, it's at ax plus by equals c. Okay. So obviously this is not in standard form. This is in our slope-intercept form. Okay, great for finding our slope and our y-intercept, but if I wanted to know my x and my y, or my x-intercept, I want to put this into standard form. So the first thing is, let's get our x and our y together. I'm going to subtract 1/4 x, and I'm going to do that from both sides. Okay, and I went ahead and I drew my wall there so I can remind myself I do have two sides of this equation. Okay. Here we already know that 1/4 x and y are not like terms, so I cannot combine them. And on the right hand side, I'm left with positive 1. Okay. So let's look what I have created. Okay, I'm almost in standard form, but what's wrong with it? Well, I'm hoping you notice two things. The first being, this is a negative. The second is, oh no, and it's a fraction, okay? I cannot have either of those. I cannot have a fraction, you cannot have a negative. So now I need to get rid of that negative and I need to get rid of that fraction, okay? And I'm gonna do this in one step. We know from solving the equations, to get rid of that fraction, I'm just going to multiply this entire equation by the denominator, which is 4. Okay? In addition, because it is a negative, I'm just going to change this to a -4 and multiply the entire equation by -4. Okay? And now distribute. When I do so, okay, we already know a negative times a negative is a positive, and -4 times -1/4 just leaves me with 1x. Okay? And now distribute to everything. -4 times y is -4y. And do not forget about your c value. -4 times 1 is -4. Now, before you move on, look at your equation. Is it in standard form? Is your a value, your b value, and your c value, are they integers? Well, yes, they are. And then, is your a value, is it positive? Yes, it is. So this is standard form. Take a few minutes and try this one on your own. Go ahead and stop the video and then come back and check your answer. How did you do? Well, I'm hoping that the first thing you saw is that, yes, even though that the a value was positive, it was in a fraction. So we needed to get rid of that fraction. So that 8 was in the denominator. So you multiplied the entire equation by 8, and then you should have distributed. Okay? And before moving on, you checked your a value, your b value, your c value, all integers, and your a value was positive. So here we have this last equation, and I did something different. I did not put it in standard form. This is actually in our point slope form. Okay, remember this is our m value, and -6 is my x in the ordered pair, -2 is the y in the ordered pair. So now let's convert this point slope form into standard form. Okay? The first thing is, part of our solving equations is we're going to distribute. So you're going to distribute, multiply that 3 to everything inside those parentheses because I need to get rid of those parentheses. So here I'm going to have 3x plus 18, and I'm just going to bring down the entire left-hand side, y plus 2. Okay. My next step, remember, is that combine like terms. No like terms on the left, because y and 2 are not alike. No like terms on the right. Okay. My third step is move the variable. Well, remember in standard form, we want x and y on the same side of the equation. So here, I'm going to subtract 3x to both sides. And when I do that, I have -3x plus y plus 2 equals 18. Okay. My next step is, well, add, subtract. Look at the left side of my equation. I have my a, I have my b, my y, but look, there's part of that c. I need to move that over to the other side. Here I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. And that leaves me with -3x plus y equals 16. Okay. Now my last step, I'm taking and I'm looking at it, and it's almost in standard form. But do you see, not quite, what's the one thing that we have to get rid of? I'm hoping that you said that negative. Okay? And you are correct. How do we get rid of that negative? Well, we're just going to take this equation, because remember, our last step in our solving equation is multiply or divide, and I'm going to multiply this by -1. Okay? And when I do that, I'll just distribute. What's negative times a negative? Well, that's a positive. Okay? It's just going to change my signs. And -1 times y, -y, and -1 times +16, -16. And now you have converted from point slope form into standard form.